It's time for another survey. This time it's the American Society of Health System Pharmacists Job Market Survey. And your participation automatically makes you eligible to win a $100 gift card to Best Buy. Yes, because this is, I don't know if it's just students, but it's sent out to the student members, and so we bribe people with Best Buy gift cards to take it. And sure, it worked on me, although I probably would have taken it anyway. This is important right now because for years and years, there was a severe shortage of pharmacists. Even just a couple years ago, 5 years ago or so, maybe even, when you graduated pharmacy school, people were begging you to take jobs with them because you can't sell drugs without a pharmacist. You can't run hospitals or care facilities without a pharmacist. In certain respects, it's required by law. You need to have these people in order to do certain things. And so they were desperate. They didn't have enough pharmacists, and so they were trying whatever they could to get pharmacists to work for them. Recognizing, now this happened for years. This had been going on for a while. Recognizing this, they have been stepping up how many pharmacists, how many pharmacy schools there are, how big those classes are, and so they're building up more and more pharmacists. And actually, what happened was, right as they were getting about equal, a recession hit. So we suddenly went from having people begging pharmacists to come work for them to there are now a bunch of pharmacists because we stepped up production of pharmacists and not as many jobs because the recession hit and there's not as many jobs. So now it's like in the matter of a few years, it has kind of reversed to the point where now, not really, but kind of, the perception compared to what happened before, it's a terrible job market now. But it's actually not bad. It's easy to get a job as a pharmacist. It's just that you no longer get to pick your job. It's no longer so much of a buyer's market from the pharmacist perspective. So here we have a survey that's going to be asking about that. All right, so when did you expect to graduate? I'm going to graduate next year. What is your general practice area? Please use other sparingly, not to further describe the first two choices. I am primarily community pharmacy, because that's where I work right now. Wow, did that... No? What happened? Go again. What happened there? Okay, did I not... Oh, I clicked back. The white text on bright blue background, well, actually bright bluish gray. Let me tilt my screen a lot. That's difficult to notice. Let's click the next button. Also, what idiot puts next on the left and back on the right? That's stupid. Okay, in which specific community pharmacy setting do you practice? A chain pharmacy. Next. That is retarded. This is not ASHP's quote-unquote fault. This is a website called Qualtrics. They're the people who put together the actual software that's kind of running this, and they're the idiots who put next on the left and back on the right. How many months prior to graduation did you begin your active search for your first job or residency? If you are currently a student, when do you anticipate beginning your first active search for job or residency? I've already been searching. Not out of desperation. I've been searching for residencies because I didn't know a lot about it, and I actually went to the meeting in Anaheim back in December to research residencies so that when I go back this next December, I'll know who I want to talk to, what I need to do, things like that. So I have actively been involved in this search for over a year. If I was going to just get a job, I would probably be looking around sometime within the next couple months. As I approach graduation, I would start looking around for jobs. Having already being employed by the company that I probably want to work for, it's a slightly different scale. Technically, I've been working towards getting a job with them for the past 3 years. In which of the following timeframes did the majority of your job search take place or will take place for your first full-time job position or residency? That would be here is when... Well, when will it take place? The majority of it will take place here. As I go to get my residency, that is this December 2011. That is like the bulk of what I'm doing. Because if I can get a residency, I'm going to go do a residency. If I don't get a residency, I'm going to turn around and get a job with the company I work for. One hopes. Next. Come on. There we go. And did your job search for your first position after graduation result in I am... And did your job search for your first position? Okay, I am still looking for a position, but I'm a student. I'm going to click Other. Currently a student. Because I'm not really working, I don't really have a pharmacist position, which is kind of what they're looking at. Which of the following best describes the work setting of your first position after graduation? All right, where's the one that says I am not graduated yet? Pop goes the weasel. Other, not graduated yet. Next. All right, did accepting your first position after No, what part of I'm a student do you not get? Okay, okay. Compromise any of the following. None of the above. I haven't compromised anything. I guess, you know what? I'm going to go back real quick and talk about this because I'm not really talking about what it is. Okay, so here's the first part. Did accepting your first position after graduation require you to compromise any of the following? Now, here we get into the point where no longer are people begging you to take jobs, wherever and however possible. They've got pharmacists filling in the nicer jobs. I say nicer, like I'm just talking about working at a community chain pharmacy, like a CVS, a Rite Aid, a Walgreens, things like that. The ones that are in, like, the suburbs of a big city, let's just say Chicago, those are all full up. Because everybody wants to live there. Everybody likes to live in the suburbs. It's a nice place. Everybody likes to work there. The nicer parts of the actual city of Chicago, probably all full up. Maybe they need someone to work in... Now, I've never been in Chicago, so I don't know. But I'm assuming a city that size has, like, its less desirable places. Maybe they need a pharmacy in that less desirable place to work in, to work in downtown Scumville, Chicago, or wherever that might be. Likewise, not many people want to live in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. So they probably could use some pharmacists in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. I know that they've been wanting pharmacists for years, even when people got to just, pick their job. Well, I should say especially when people got to just pick where they were going to work. Nobody wanted to move to Alaska. Everybody wanted to move to Hawaii. So, now that you kind of have to negotiate and compromise, or now that you might have to negotiate and compromise to get a position, are you taking a lower paying position in order to be where you want? Are you giving up the benefits in order to kind of get what you want? Are you moving where you don't necessarily want to live? Are you practicing in a different area? Maybe you graduated from pharmacy school and you really wanted to be a hospital pharmacist, but the only place you can find with an open job in the area is a community pharmacy, so that's where you're working. Shifts in schedules. Maybe you wanted to work standard 8 to 4, 9 to 5 kind of schedule, and unfortunately now you're working 2 days in the morning, 2 days in the afternoon, and a weekend day every week. That kind of sucks. And the number of hours you work. Sometimes this means you wanted to be part-time. Sometimes this means you wanted to be full-time, but there's only part-time available. It usually doesn't go the other way. I don't think people who are trying to get a part-time job take a full-time position. Because usually if they're taking a part-time job, it's because they only have part-time available to work. They don't have full-time worth of work, like parents or whatever the reason might be. So I, of course, had no compromises. Next. Because I don't have a job. All right, which of the following resources were most influential in helping you find your position or residency? Again, okay. Most influential. Prior work as a pharmacy technician, by far. Because if I work for the company I work for now, I was a pharmacy technician there, so that's big. I kind of want to say mentor. Job board, career farm, PPS, residency showcase. If I go to a residency, that will have been incredibly influential on me because there's just so many people there, so many programs there, and so much information that there's really nothing else you can deal with. And I'm going to say, I don't know. Because I already worked for the place that I was working, and that's the residency. So I'm going to say networking, because I know my pharmacy managers, and it's not a professional meeting. All right, please rate your level of agreement with the following statements about finding your first position after graduation. Not applicable. Yes. Not applicable. Not applicable, because I'm a student. I haven't graduated. I don't have a position. Now, back in the day, people used to get hired before they graduated because, like I said, they were looking for pharmacists. They needed pharmacists. And so as soon as they could, they would get these pharmacists to commit to work for them so that they could fill, where they needed to fill. So for some people, not having graduated, a couple of years ago, I probably could have been answering this. My school's career day was the other month in July, the very beginning of July or the very end of June, right around there. And a couple years ago, people would have been hired there even though they have an entire full year of school left. Nowadays, they don't do that because it's just too early. Your perceptions of my current position. Okay, I am close to where I'd hoped to be in my pharmacy career. I agree. I'm content to be where I am in my pharmacy career at this time. I agree. I have a very good intern position. I work as an intern. I get just enough hours per week that I don't feel like it's burdensome. I'm not stuck there working like 8-hour shifts. I just go in for a couple hours, do my thing, and then leave. It's like a cool little... It's refreshing to me rather than a job. I like it. Next. Maybe. It's going slowly right now because I'm uploading photos online, and whenever I'm uploading, things don't like that. All right, your perceptions of the future. I am concerned with the supply of pharmacists is outpacing the demand for pharmacists and will impact my future. I agree with this. They are constantly opening up more and more pharmacy schools, and other pharmacy schools are increasing their class size to make them bigger and bigger. And you have to wonder, one, at the quality of education that's being offered, particularly in the newer programs. They're not as established, and you don't really know the kind of faculty they're getting, and the kind of because they're obviously, as a brand new program, they don't have the experience in pharmacy education. And I'm not saying that necessarily going to a new pharmacy school means that their curriculum sucks and you're not going to learn stuff or you're going to be behind other students. That's not what I'm saying. I honestly have no idea. Like, sometimes I've heard people, not on YouTube, of course, but other people ask me, oh, you go to that school, how do you like it? How do you feel? Do you think it's any good? And I'm like, well, honestly, I can't tell you really how is it, or is it any good? I have no perspective on the issue. I've never gone to pharmacy school before, so I have nothing to compare it to. So I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's better or worse than the average or anything like that. I just know what it is for me. Makes it kind of difficult. I've also seen people online asking questions like, oh, I'm thinking about going into healthcare, and I want to know, is it, what's the difference between going to pharmacy school and medical school? And they're posting this on a forum for pharmacists and pharmacy students, and we're like, we've never gone to med school. We don't know what it's like in pharmacy school compared to med school. We can tell you what med students have told us about med school and compare that to our own experiences in pharmacy school, but that's not really the same thing, unfortunately. All right, the current marketplace dynamics makes obtaining a residency important. I agree. There is further and further move in the pharmacy world away from dispensing. It used to be, for years and years and years, decades and decades, pharmacies made plenty of money selling the drugs. And that was because back in the day, you charged people a cash price for the drug, and the people paid the cash price for the medication, and that was it. And then insurances started getting in on it, and the thing about insurance is they don't make money if they're paying out a bunch of money. So they fight harder and harder to drive the price of medications lower and lower. And not the price of medications, but what they pay for medications. And at the same time, Pharmaceutical companies are trying to get the prices of medicines up and up and up because the more that they charge for a medication, the more money they make. And you have these two competing forces. So now you basically have medications that are incredibly expensive on the brand name side and incredibly cheap on the generic side. And the problem is, like with these insurance companies, sometimes they say, we'll pay you this, and that's less than what the pharmacy is paying to buy the actual drug. So, I mean, pharmacies are essentially middlemen. They buy the drug from the manufacturer for X amount, and they sell it to the patient at Y amount. And the patient, well, that Y amount includes insurance. And sometimes the insurance company says, we'll pay you $5, but it costs the pharmacy $7 to buy the drug itself. And he's like, I'm buying the drug and literally losing money just on the drug. That's not even taking into account, my expenses as a business. My, the payroll, the electricity, the building, the rent, the water, all of that stuff. And so it's getting harder and harder to actually make money on filling prescriptions. So pharmacy is moving more and more towards clinical pharmacy. If you step outside in the next couple months, you will notice that every pharmacy is giving out flu shots. Insurance still pays for flu shots, and they're willing to pay the pharmacist to give out flu shots. In this instance, it's because the insurance knows that getting a flu shot is going to keep people from getting sick and going to the doctor and getting doctor co-payments. The doctor's going to charge the insurance, and then they're going to get medication, and now we're going to get charged by the pharmacy. So the insurance likes flu shots and other types of shots. And then there's medication therapy management and other things. They're utilizing the pharmacist less of a put pills into a bottle and sell it, and more of a, hey, you went to school for 4 years to learn about drugs. Let's put that brain to work. I am concerned that and the residency, just to continue the thought now that I'm looking back at the question, when I go off on a little rant, I'm actually leaning back in my chair and I'm not even looking at the computer screen. Residencies are intensive 1 or 2 year training that a pharmacist can receive after graduation. And they are increasingly becoming like prerequisites to certain positions. If you want to be a clinical pharmacist, you probably should have done a residency. And in the future, as there's more and more of a move to clinical pharmacy, there's more and more of an emphasis on having residency training because it's just so valuable. I am concerned that the supply of students seeking residencies is outpacing the availability of residency positions and will impact my future. I also agree with that. Students aren't stupid. They're paying a ton of money to go to pharmacy school, and when they get out, they want to be pharmacists, and they want to be, they want to get a job. They want to start earning money and paying back those student loans. And they're recognizing that more and more you need a residency to get the, I don't want to say like, it depends on where you're working, whether or not being a clinical pharmacist pays more. Clinical pharmacists have regular hours, they're not flipping schedules, they're not working weekends, and so at some hospitals, a clinical pharmacist doesn't get paid any more than any other pharmacist. They just have better perks to the job. Other hospitals actually do pay clinical pharmacists a little more because of their special training and everything. One of the guys who talks at my school, he taught one of our classes on economics, and he actually said, at my hospital, he's the pharmacy director, I pay my clinical pharmacists a little bit more. And he says, other hospitals, I know that they don't, which isn't a problem. Okay, but students know that getting a residency is important, so there are more and more of them going for residencies. And for the past year or two, they have been outnumbering the number of available programs. And there's not very many programs available for pharmacy. There's only I want to say 1,800 or so. There's several thousand pharmacy graduates every year. So to get into those programs, it's competitive. What do you feel is having the most impact on today's pharmacy job market? I think the depressed economy is having the most impact on the job market. The expansion of schools of pharmacy hasn't really had a chance to get going. There has been some of it, but there's even more pharmacy schools being built, but you're not going to see their students on the job market for another 4 years or so. In fact, 2 of the pharmacy schools that I interviewed with when I was starting in pharmacy school were brand new programs. They had not, one of them was in their second year, and another one I think was in its first year. So I'll be graduating before their students even make it out of school. So that's not an issue. I think the economy is a big one. Especially, there were a lot of pharmacists that were getting ready to retire, and then when the economy went down, their retirement plans all went to crap. So they didn't quit their job. And that meant that the next set of students coming out of pharmacy school didn't have those jobs available. And that's just how that continued. But now that the economy is starting to pick back up and people are getting ready, are getting to the point where they can retire, there are more and more retirements happening. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, that people will retire and give me a chance. Which of the following resources have influenced your current perceptions of the job market? Okay, firsthand, no. Peers, faculty, news. Those would be the biggest ones that I've noticed as far as my current perceptions. Because we talk about it in school. I went to a national meeting, actually, and they had a survey. And they do this survey every 3 or 5 years or something like that. And they had noticed that now was like, for the past time, now was like the worst time ever that they've had on that survey. All of the results were the lowest that they had ever been. But, I mean, it's because they did the survey right as we went into a giant recession. All right, if you were starting over, would you pursue pharmacy as a career choice? I probably would. I don't have any regrets going into pharmacy. Now, if I graduate pharmacy school and I can't find a job anywhere, I probably would have some regrets. But I don't see that happening. Even now, I feel like I have job prospects. I don't have any additional comments, and I'm not going to give you my name and email address. So, I guess that's it. Until next time, bye-bye.